What is up? We are Wrestling Maniacs out there worldwide. I'm the host with the most, the best one, Donnie, here with...
What is going on, everybody? Danny Huckins here, man. 1/3 of We Are Wrestling, and it's me and Donnie riding solo. As you guys know, during AEW content, Ben usually sits those ones out. But Donnie, man, we got some predictions that we're going to be going over.
That's right. This Sunday, AEW is going to be having a pay-per-view, Revolution. And Danny and I, we're both going to be doing a dual watch-along for the pay-per-view. If you guys want to, join us Sunday, we will be live. The link will be down below to the link for, the watch-along. You're definitely not going to want to miss. But if you're not a We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already, and you're not a part of the thousands of subscribers, the best way to support us is by hitting that subscribe button now, turning on the post notifications. Videos be coming out of nowhere like an RKO. And of course, you already know the grind is real. So before we get into our predictions for AEW Revolution, how do you feel about the build up towards Revolution this year?
I know the pay-per-view is going to be a banger. TK usually goes above and beyond when it comes to the pay-per-view and how the matches are structured and stuff like that. But I would be lying if I sat here and said that the build was phenomenal for the show. A lot of the matches don't really make much sense. You have this whole thing with Wardlow and Samoa Joe with the whole, the hair cutting situation, and you kept Wardlow off of TV for weeks, and then 2 weeks before the show, you have this whole story come out revolving around his dad when you should have done that earlier. And you have, the House of Black and the Elite going at it when that majority of that build was on, Rampage, and didn't
Last
really
minute
have
booking too.
very, very last minute. The only match on this card I want to say that has legitimate structure to it is MJF and Danielson.
You also have to admit, Jon Moxley versus Hangman Adam Page, they've also been building it as well.
Yes, that match.
Same with Jericho and Starks, too.
Yeah. But, I mean, the build hasn't been the best. You could have done so much better. And I feel like that's why a lot of people aren't that excited about the show to begin with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I definitely have to totally agree with you. When it comes to AEW Revolution, I think the problem was they had all of this time to build for this pay-per-view, and I think what takes away from it is having some of these talent already wrestle each other before Revolution. Like we had Jon Moxley versus Hangman. I believe they wrestled 3 matches before this match. Jericho, Starks, they wrestled, I believe, once. Also, Samoa Joe, Wardlow, we've seen that. I know Christian Cage and Jungle Boy, that's a match that, you need to close the chapter in the storyline. It's just unfortunate that they decided to wait 2 weeks before the pay-per-view. The Elite House of Black, they deserve to have a better build. And then, the whole Saraya thing and, the whole former WWE, Divas versus, AEW Originals. The way they did the heel turn for Toni Storm and Saraya has just been very boring and lackluster. So going into this pay-per-view, the only thing that really excites me is personally the MJF, Danielson, Jon Moxley, Hangman match. But I do think overall it will be a big, successful show.
Yeah, the entire show is going to be a success. Every match is going to be a banger.
The build could have been way better. I know last year with Revolution, the build was absolutely 10 out of 10. But this year, it feels more like a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I wouldn't even go as far as that, to be honest with you. All the matches are going to be bangers. I'm not worried about how the matches are gonna be. We're gonna be on the edge of our seat the entire show. But sometimes it takes more than just a banger match to get somebody invested. This is pro wrestling. This is not UFC. You got to have storylines behind it. You got to make people care about, what is actually happening. And I just feel like TK dropped the ball with the build to the show.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. But now let's dive into some of these matches and give our predictions.
Let's do it, man.
So, starting off, which, by the way, this is not, the exact match card 1 through 8. During the day of the show, things can change. We're just going to, pretty much speculate what's going to happen.
We should also mention real quick. So this is probably gonna come out Saturday. We're recording on Friday. And we still have Rampage tonight. So there could be another match, knowing TK, there could be another match added to the card. Obviously, it's not gonna be in the prediction video because Rampage hasn't happened yet. So I just wanted to throw that disclaimer out there.
Yeah, and also too, to the We Are Wrestling Maniacs as well. We don't know if there's also going to be pre-show matches as well. And as of
Mhm.
right now, the day we're recording, there isn't any pre-show matches. So we're going to go over the matches that are happening as of right now of us recording Friday before AEW Rampage. So starting off, we have a no holds barred match. Christian Cage versus Jungle Boy Jack Perry.
I actually am really looking forward to this match. And like, we didn't talk about it before, but this match I feel like had a really good build to it. Obviously a lot of people online in the IWC are, complaining that this storyline is taking so long and, to really like end, I guess you can say.
Mhm.
And the reason that is because Christian was injured, so he had to be off of TV for a while. And obviously, Luchasaurus, I mean, it's heavily speculated that the reason he's off of TV is because of the whole mask lawsuit. But I heard he was injured as well. He had almost the same injury as Christian. So I don't know, the real reason why he's off TV. But so the reason why this is taking so long to come to a conclusion is because Christian was off TV for a while. Hopefully after Sunday, I mean, this will be the end of the feud. I like what they're doing. I like how they're building up Jack Perry. I love how he still has that emotional attachment to Christian because of all the time they spent together. And Christian was almost like a mentor to him. And Christian is continuously making it personal. Keep on mentioning, Jack Perry's father who passed away a couple years ago, and talking about his family and
Can I just say on
just
Dynamite, Jungle Boy's video package, that was incredible way to, sell the match.
Oh yeah, people have been, saying that it's gonna be like, it should be like a buried alive match. I think that would have been really cool. I'm really curious to see what they do in this no holds barred match, but um, I I hope, as much as I like Christian, man, he's a phenomenal heel, and I hope he continues, on this war path or whatever. Um, but I really hope Jungle Boy Jack Perry beats the fuck out of him, man. Because I mean that'll feel just so good, the underdog story. Because Jack Perry, he's an underdog, man. Very small guy. In all accounts, he shouldn't even be in this business.
To be honest, if there's anybody that can have a successful underdog storyline, it would be Jack Perry because he can sell it, amazingly.
Yep.
So now my thoughts going into this match with Christian Cage and Jungle Boy, the storyline has been fantastic. And it's unfortunate that Christian was on the side, like, put to the sideline for, due to his injury. I think they would have ended the storyline probably at Winter is Coming if Christian
Hmm.
was still, around. But unfortunately, he was out sidelined. And with him being back now, you can't just ignore everything that's happened. They have to end this feud. And what better way to end it than AEW Revolution? If you want Jungle Boy to take the next step in his career, they need to have this ending. If you want Christian to work with more younger talent, you need to have this ending. And with Jungle Boy versus Luchasaurus at AEW Full Gear back in November, it wrote Luchasaurus off of AEW TV. So
Yep.
now Jungle Boy pretty much
Because
has Christian. Left.
I think Luchasaurus was injured going into that
He
match, and
was.
they did the spot where Jack Perry, dove off the cage on top of him or whatever, as a sort of way to write him off of television. But I was
And that
thinking
was a
about
great
it.
way to write him off too.
I was thinking about it. Just like in my head, envisioning like how this build has been.
Mhm.
I think Luchasaurus shows up.
I hope that's not the case because I want Jungle Boy to beat Christian in this match, and I want them both to move on. And I want Luchasaurus, when he comes back, to move on from Christian and do something else. Because here's what I would do if I was TK. I would have this match with Jungle Boy and Christian, and afterwards, get Jungle Boy in a new program with another heel, maybe do something with Chris Jericho. and
Mhm.
have, Christian Cage do stuff for the All Atlantic Championship. I think that he can make that title prestigious. And imagine, a feud with him and Orange Cassidy. I think that that would be a pretty good, feud for Christian next. But,
Yeah.
getting back into, the build, I think that if Christian wasn't on the sideline, this would have had a better build. It's because of him being on the sideline and how long the storyline has been to where, the IWC is just getting impatient. They're over it. I think that this shouldn't be a no holds barred match. I think that Christian versus Jungle Boy, they should have done some type of match, like maybe like a street fight or like a parking lot brawl, like outside of the arena, like they were trying to build it before TK made the announcement. Like
No
Jungle
holds.
Boy saying, like, how, or Christian, how he was saying he wants to fight
Yeah.
Jack Perry.
Yeah, no holds barred is almost is very similar. So I mean, for all you know, it could show one of them like walk into the ring backstage or whatever, and then maybe Jungle Boy attacks Christian from behind or whatever, and they start brawling backstage. Like a lot of crazy stuff can happen, man. Like
Mhm.
this isn't just TK knows that people are paying $50 a pop for this show. This is not a free show that you can watch on TBS. So therefore, that's why he takes a lot of time and he puts a lot into these shows. So who's to say, one of them, doesn't, I don't know. I just this match is going to be brutal. Just
I'm
knowing the way
excited for this
TK,
match. I
just
really
knowing how.
am. And here's the thing, like, people need to understand, let's stop complaining so much about the feud between these two, and let's be excited because we all know after Revolution, this feud's over. We're all going to get what we want after this banger match to end this storyline because we all know Jungle Boy has what it takes to, be a top mid-card wrestler. And Christian, there's definitely a lot more talent that he's ready to put over and, take off. And
Yep.
I'm very excited to see like how they're going to end this feud. Who do we have winning this match, Danny?
I gotta go with my boy Jungle Boy, man. Like, it seems very fitting that, you know, Christian has pretty much, made his life a living hell and, like tormented this kid. And it's about time that he seeks revenge. So I gotta say Jungle Boy.
I'm going to have to say Jungle Boy. I think, we're going to get that happy ending in this storyline. And then Christian and Jungle Boy will be able to move on after this. I don't think this will be a bury. Christian's going to put Jungle Boy over because he sees the talent. And then they're going to try to, transition Christian, I think, into the All Atlantic title picture because that championship hasn't really done much with Orange Cassidy. So having
Yeah.
a veteran like Christian hold the title and eventually your next All Atlantic champion is going to get put over from Christian, it's going to have a better payoff.
And
And
don't
with
forget,
Jungle Boy, there's more things that he can do. He can work on, he can have a feud with Samoa Joe maybe for the TNT title. You never know what they could do with him.
I think
He wants a singles title.
I think Jungle Boy would be more fitting, to feud with Jericho. Jericho is
That's what
very
I'm saying.
he's great at putting young guys over or whatever. And as far as I know, from what I've heard on like interviews and stuff, Jericho is very high on Jack Perry. Very, very, very high. So I could definitely see, them having a feud and Jericho putting Jack Perry over just to sort of have him grow as his character.
Yeah.
Um, but if as you might have heard in the promo from last week or this week, Christian was like, "I'm here to win championships. I'm here to make money." I mean, that pretty much opens the door for him to feud with Orange Cassidy next.
Yeah, but here's the thing too. Jungle Boy also said in a promo a couple weeks ago that he wants to win a singles title. So I think if they're going to do this, Jungle Boy should feud with Chris Jericho and then he should go for the TNT title. And I think that
Yeah,
we should get a TNT title run with Jungle Boy. I think he definitely deserves it. And I think Christian having an All Atlantic champion could definitely make that title prestigious.
absolutely.
But definitely need to end this feud after this pay-per-view.
Yeah, definitely. Like I'm not mad that it's taken this long because I understand the reasons why.
Me
But
too.
I do hope that, after Sunday, that's it.
I agree. So, moving on now to the next match on the card, we have a six-man tag match for the AEW World's Trio Championships. The Elite, Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks versus the House of Black, Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews.
Uh, we talked about it at the beginning of this episode, man, and I'm a huge supporter of the House of Black. I've loved Malachi ever since he was in NXT. As Aleister Black or whatever. I'm into heavy metal. I'm into alternative tattoos, and I'm into that kind of lifestyle, or whatever. So I love pro wrestlers that are like that because I kind of identify with them a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, the Elite, they're phenomenal workers, they're phenomenal performers, but I don't have any kind of emotional attachment to them because until AEW, I didn't know who the fuck they were. Like I knew who the Young Bucks were a little bit, but I had no idea who Kenny Omega was and stuff like that because I had no access to like New Japan or whatever, and that's really where he made a name for himself. Um, this match is going to be a certified fucking 6-star classic. Like everybody knows how good this match is going to be. You can't have these six guys in the ring with each other and have it not be an instant classic.
Banger.
My issue with this is the fact that there was very little build to it. There was no, we're not emotionally invested into what
Yes.
is going to happen in this match.
I agree because the problem is with the Elite during the time that they had to give us a solid build here, they wanted to do freaking basketball segments and have Isaiah Cassidy go, to freaking Kenny Omega's freaking ear.
Yeah.
We should have been using that time to build something for this because I think the House of Black and the Elite, you give them a solid 3 months to build a freaking storyline, to build a pay-per-view match, this would be even bigger than what it's going to be.
Exactly. And we gone 6, 7 weeks, of, having Death Triangle and the Elite going at it for the trios titles or whatever. And now you just randomly throw in, the House of Black in there. Normally I would be like, yes, I want the House of Black to win the titles. Like
Mhm.
it is criminal the fact that these guys have any of them have yet to hold any kind of championship in AEW. Fucking criminal, bro. They're so talented. It's fucking retarded.
That's the
My
thing,
my
man.
issue
Like,
just is with the build. There was no build to this. I'm
and
not
that's the thing with the
emotionally
House of Black.
invested.
The build has just been not that good with them. Like, the only thing that they did so far that was a solid build was the stuff they were doing with Death Triangle.
Exactly. So like as much as I'm gonna enjoy this match. I'm gonna, be on the edge of my seat, in awe at the things these guys are gonna do. I'm just not as emotionally invested as I should be, and I fucking cannot stand it. TK, do better.
I got to agree with you on the build was literally. But when it comes to this match, I think it definitely has the potential of being the best in-ring match for tonight. Here's my thoughts on this match. Like, you're very, what's the word that you were saying about the House of Black? Emotionally invested?
Emotionally invested. Like I love them as, characters, as in-ring workers. I've talked very highly about the match that we saw in Northeast Wrestling with Malachi and Jay Lethal. Like I'm just a huge Malachi fan,
Yeah,
man.
so now getting into, being emotionally invested, that's how I feel with the Elite because around the time when, the Elite were taking over pro wrestling, I started to lose my passion for professional wrestling. I wasn't enjoying what WWE was putting out there, and I started to pay attention to Ring of Honor and New Japan. And I became, Young Buck and, Kenny Omega, Marty Scurlls, Cody Rhodes, Hangman fans. I loved what they were doing for the business. And that's why, I always have a special place in my heart for the Elite. But I would be lying to you if I said I want the House of Black to win. I do want the House of Black to actually win the titles. I, am very invested in what the House of Black, I think they have lots of potential to, do some damage here in AEW if they can get booked properly, which so far they haven't really done much with Malachi. Brody King, I feel like they've done good with him. Buddy Matthews, they haven't really done much with him. Julia Hart, phenomenal. But when it comes down to it, I wish that there was a better build for this match. They deserve to have that better build. Like, why couldn't the House of Black just return and then just, instead of, doing these useless vignettes, why couldn't they just do a vignette and pretty much just say straight up, we want the elite.
Bro,
We want the titles.
I have seen more
And that's how they could have
vignettes.
started.
I have seen more vignettes of the House of Black just in the shadows or whatever, and then at the very end, like one of Malachi or Brody, like one of them appear out of the shadows. I've seen more of those vignettes than I have actually seeing them in the ring. Have they even had a trios match yet? I
They've had
cannot
trio
remember.
matches, but since returning, I don't think so. I think they had like one, maybe one or two of them on like Dark.
I don't understand how you can have guys like Buddy Matthews, Brody King, Malachi. I don't know Brody King as much as I know Buddy Matthews and Malachi. So I can speak on his behalf a little bit, but not as much as Buddy Matthews and Malachi because obviously they were in WWE. But I don't understand how you have these guys signed to your roster, but you're not using them on a weekly basis. There's so many things. I watch Dynamite every week. And there's so many segments to where I'd be like, I could see Malachi Black in this match. I could see, them having a trios match right here. I could see them, doing this backstage segment. I could see them, attacking this team over here or whatever, and setting up to maybe go for the tag titles. Having Malachi win the All Atlantic Championship and having Brody and Buddy as the tag team champions. Like, there's so many things that I can think of just watching the show every week. I don't understand how you have these guys signed and you're not fucking utilizing them.
Here's the thing I don't understand. There's three of them, and how the hell does friggin' Brody, Buddy, and Malachi, they don't even get a match on AEW before their pay-per-view? You have three of them, so you could throw Buddy Matthews in a match with somebody one week. You could throw Brody in there. You could throw Malachi in there. And they just haven't, they've really fumbled it with the House of Black, and it really makes me sad because they are so good in the ring. We've seen the work that they have. We see the potential. They just need to be on television every week doing something besides vignettes.
I would love to see Buddy Matthews in the ring with Tony Nese again, man. I've talked about it a lot since I started doing this with you. Like the pre-show match for the cruiserweight title that they had at I think it was WrestleMania 34, maybe 33, 34. It was a pre-show match, cruiserweight title, man. Buddy Murphy versus Tony Nese, and like I would love to see that again on AEW. Like, they put on a fucking certified banger.
They should have at least had Kenny Omega versus Buddy Matthews in like a match, or they should have had, the Young Bucks versus, Brody and like Malachi in a tag match. This would have been a great way to build towards the pay-per-view. There's simple things that they should have done for this for the better build. But I know we keep going on and on about it. So who do we got winning this match?
I gotta go with the Elite. They just came back from suspension. They had a 6-week, program with Dead Triangle to get the titles back. I don't see them losing the titles. As much as I usually would go with the House of Black, there was no build to this. I honestly I feel like a lot of people would riot if the Elite lost the titles in a nothing match like this. I do hope at some point they revisit it with better storytelling aspects. But I got to go with the Elite. As much as I love House of Black, man, got to go with the Elite.
So here's what I want to happen. There's two situations, two scenarios I have for this. I want either the House of Black to win this match, get the trio titles, This is a great way to get them on television, have them, wrestle more trio matches. And this could be, their way of getting on TV more. Or, also, too, let me just add the Elite, they don't need the trio titles. You can have the Young Bucks go back in the tag division and, rebuild that because, of course, we see what the tag team match is going to be, which we're going to get into in this predictions, compared to last year's Revolution, tag match.
Yeah.
You can either, have, you can have the Young Bucks go back to being a tag team, Omega going back to being a singles competitor, and have, the House of Black win, or scenario 2, which I think this is the most realistic scenario. You have, these trio teams wrestle each other. The Elite beat the House of Black, just barely beat them, and that could piss the House of Black off, and they continue the storyline from there because it gives the House of Black a reason to go after the Elite, and they can build this, towards maybe one of their, TBS specials or Double or Nothing. And that's where we get the bigger payoff with the House of Black winning and maybe a
I could see
stipulation
that.
style match.
I could see that. It also has been in my head like about like a scenario that I actually thought you were gonna mention, but you didn't. Surprisingly, you know, obviously FTR's off TV. We know CM Punk is coming back. FTR CM Punk trios against the Elite, turn this entire media scrum bullshit into a work. I mean, making some money out of the situation. Kenny Omega said that he wishes everybody in this scenario well. He has no hard feelings against everybody. I legitimately, like I've been saying for months, bro. I literally think they came on here, Skype, whatever, had a private meeting that nobody knows about. They squashed everything, settled their differences. I feel like something like that is gonna happen. Punk is supposed to be coming back soon. FTR, they're staying out until April. What are they staying out for?
Here's the thing. I could see this happening too. Here's what I think is going to happen actually. The Elite are going to retain the trio titles against the House of Black. I think we're going to get a program with the House of Black and the Elite. And during a TBS special, CM Punk and FTR are going to screw the Elite out of the trio titles. And the House is going to win the titles. And then there you go. You have your program right there. Or they do this at Double or Nothing, where you have a bigger payoff with CM Punk and FTR coming back, screwing the Elite. And there you go. There's the program for All Out because, of course, the All Out media scrum. That'll be a whole year. So you have a year's pretty much worth the animosity, a year's worth the build. And I think the House of Black overall will win this feud. They will win the titles, but I don't think it's going to happen at Revolution.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna. I gotta go with the Elite on this one, man. Just no build and just there's no real stakes behind it. It's just a nothing match thrown together. It's gonna be a banger, but it just nobody's emotionally invested in it. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
they would take the titles off the Elite after literally just winning them, like 2 months ago, in a match pretty much that has really no real build to it.
I won't complain if the House wins the titles, but I do think that a lot of people, I think, are going to think that this is a one-off match. I think that this is a start to a feud.
Hopefully, it's the start to get the House of Black, on TV regularly. Because, like I said, that's criminally insane that you have these three guys on your roster, but you don't fucking use them.
Mm-hmm. Moving on now to the next match on the card. It is for the AEW Women's World Championship. Jamie Hayter defending her title against Saraya versus Ruby Soho.
Bro, I hate to say it, man, but I don't give a shit. This whole entire feud storyline is just absolutely dog shit to me, like personally. Jamie Hayter's gonna win. I don't like what they're doing with Tony Storm and Saraya, like with the whole spray paint thing, and like it's like a weird, Dollar Tree ripoff of NWO from back in the day, and like I I'm not invested in this, bro. It's
I'll
laughable.
tell
I
you
could
why.
care
I'll tell you
less.
why it's laughable and why you're not invested in it. And I think a lot of We Are Wrestling Maniacs aren't invested in it. Bless
Excuse
you.
me.
Here's my reason why I think a lot of people are invested in this. It was literally, if you go back on the We Are Wrestling channel and you watch my reaction video to Saraya and Tony turning heel, one of the worst heel turns I've ever seen in professional wrestling. That's why nobody is invested in this, because with Saraya, she came back as a babyface. Everybody was excited to see her. They fumbled it, and then they randomly just turned her heel in the worst way possible with Tony Storm. It made absolutely no sense. And now all of a sudden, they're a Dollar Tree NWO, like you said. That's
I
why
don't.
nobody's invested in this. And here's the thing I'm going to say real quick. There's only two good things out of this whole anti AEW versus AEW women's feud. There's only two people that I gotta, give credit to. First one, Ruby Soho, because we have been complaining that they haven't been using her much. And
Mhm.
in this situation, Ruby Soho is actually being booked pretty good.
Yeah.
Number two, Dr. Britt Baker, because she was somebody who was always going for the AEW Women's World Championship. She was always in the spotlight, and now she's given Jamie Hayter the spotlight and taken a step back. And I think that that's the best thing right now for her, so that fans don't get sick of her. It's something different.
You know how I've been hearing a lot of speculation about what could possibly happen during this match. And one thing that's a lot of people seem to think is going to happen is obviously we know that Jamie Hayter's going to win the match, right? But a lot of people
I don't
are
know.
saying a lot of people are saying that after the match ends, Britt Baker attacks Jamie Hayter. It's pretty much has Jamie Hayter split away from Britt Baker and has them have a feud for the women's title.
Not yet. I don't think that's going to happen just yet. I think that will be happening eventually, but I think right now, Britt Baker, she even said in a recent interview that she's pretty happy being on the sidelines right now because Jamie Hayter, is getting the spotlight that, she deserves. And because she was always in the background of Britt Baker the last couple of years. And they have
Yeah.
formed, some type of a relationship there. And I think Britt Baker right now is okay with being on the sideline because she wants to do what's best for AEW. And that
Yeah.
right there, that is a leader right there in AEW that I see why she has all the success that she's had in AEW because of the way that she presents herself on screen and, behind the scenes.
I mean, I've heard a lot of not so nice things about, the way that she once acted backstage, and she rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, which is,
Hey, but this
pretty
is her
much.
way, but this is her way of redeeming herself. And so
Yeah.
far, like she seems like she's being a very good team player.
Yeah. But I mean, this has nothing to do with that. Jamie
Yeah.
Hayter's gonna win. I honestly don't give a fuck, bro. Like, let's just move on to the next match. Like, I don't care. But Jamie Hayter's gonna win.
Yeah, here's the thing. I don't really care about this match. I think that it is going to be a okay match overall. I think that Saraya is going to win the title, and a
I
lot of
don't
people are going to
under
be pissed off.
I don't understand how Saraya. Like, I understand, she's a big deal, and it was a big get for AEW. Because she was out of wrestling for a long time, and she wanted to come back. Everybody was speculating she going back to WWE, AEW, whatever. She only had one match back. How does that automatically entitle her to a fucking title match?
Two,
That's
two
well,
matches.
two. Wow, that's another thing that I don't like about AEW
Ranking
sometimes.
system. I've been saying it for over like a year
The
and a half
ranking,
now.
the ranking system doesn't matter. I think they got rid of it from what a lot of people are saying,
Yeah.
but I don't understand, bro. Like, they're making the titles have very little meaning to them. You have
They
two
are.
matches and automatically you're going for the world title. Like, that makes no sense to me at
I
all.
hope Ruby. If anybody's going to win the title, I would hope Ruby Soho in this situation because she has been, having matches and she's actually
Yeah,
like
but
being
that
on TV
also
regularly.
she also hasn't really had that much of a storyline when it comes to Jamie Hayter. You know what I mean? She's been used, but still, I want to get like whoever the next champion is or whatever. I want to get emotionally invested. I want to root for that person. Like,
Mhm.
I can't root for anybody in this match because it's just very lackluster. I just don't care.
I'm not excited for it, but I feel like there's going to be a new champ. I love Jamie Hayter. I hope she retains the title, but I just have this gut feeling that they're going to give it to Saraya and we're going to get more backlash with this storyline because a lot of
I will
fans right now
say,
are not enjoying it, including us.
I will say, and this might be a hot take, but I think Jamie Hayter's been the best champion since Britt Baker. Every time she's needed to, she's defended the title. She's on the TV weekly. She gets treated better than fucking like the TNT champion or fucking like, the tag team champions. Like, she's on TV regularly. She's in storylines. She's actually like showcasing her talent. She's defending the title. She's doing what she needs to do. She's the best champion since Britt Baker, in my opinion.
Yeah. Moving on now to the next match on the card, we have a singles match. The Jericho Appreciation Society are banned from ringside during this match. We have Chris Jericho versus Absolute Ricky Starks.
Yeah, man. So JS is banned from ringside. They signed a contract 2 weeks ago. This past Wednesday, we saw the JAS and Jericho beat the hell out of Ricky Starks and double team him. Obviously, Action Andretti, he was in the ladder match. He got put through a ladder by Sammy Guevara, and that was sort of, to take him out of the equation because obviously we know that him and Ricky Starks have formed some kind of a friendship or whatever. So with him getting put through the table during the ladder during the ladder match, took him out of the equation so he couldn't come to Ricky Stark's rescue. I'm looking forward to this match. Jericho has a habit of putting young guys over, and Ricky Starks is definitely, I could see him within the next year, having a feud with MJF for the world title.
And
Um,
actually winning it too. I can see
but
him.
here's what I have to say, and I'm one of those dirt sheet morons, man. I read the sheets all the time. You know this
Yes, we
from our
know right behind
discussions.
you, you have a Dave Meltzer poster, but it's not on the wall that the camera can see. We know you definitely have a poster of him in your room.
It's right down here by my ass. Um, I I don't know if you've heard about. You probably have. Jericho recently filed a trademark for Jericho, and apparently Big Show has said in an interview or something that this month he wants to get back in the ring in some fashion. I feel like we get Big Show in a way helping Jericho, and obviously maybe somebody comes and helps Ricky Starks, Action Andretti, or somebody else, you know. But I feel like we're gonna be seeing Big Show in this scenario. Why else would Jericho want to trademark Jericho? And ironically enough, Big Show saying that he wants to get back in the ring. I feel like it's gonna happen, bro. He just had a bunch of surgeries done. He's been training his ass off the last couple months. He
Paul
said
White.
he said this month he wants to get back in the ring, man. And with the trademark being held by Jericho, even though his name isn't Big Show in AEW, they can still use Jericho since the trademark is owned by Jericho. So I mean, I think just cause it says JAS, that was written on the contract, bro. JAS is barred from ringside. Paul White is not a member of JAS.
Yeah. So here's what I think is going to happen. I think that, this feud between the two, at first, I was very invested in it. And then it started to become a little bit repetitive the past, few weeks. And I don't know. With the Jericho Appreciation Society, don't get me wrong, I love all the talent that are in the group. But personally, I'm not enjoying the Jericho Appreciation Society compared to the Inner Circle. I think that, they've really fumbled it with Jake Hager. Now the man went from being a legitimate badass, doing fights with Bellator in, the octagon to wearing a purple hat that says, I like this hat. Sammy Guevara, he was very, very, very over. And then, unfortunately, the whole thing happened with, him and Ty. And then, they kind of just slowly took him, lower in the card. And now, he's back with Jericho, and I feel like he's regressed. We get into, Daddy Magic and Angelo Parker, two guys I feel like should be used a lot more that aren't being used properly. They both are very entertaining. Then we get into Daniel Garcia, the biggest one for me that I'm disappointed in, because in the summer of 2022, they had the opportunity to turn this kid into a star. And they, pretty much fumbled it, and he went back to the Jericho Appreciation Society and hasn't really done much since.
You know,
I think
I could honestly see Daddy Magic, Angelo Parker, and Garcia being in the trios division.
they should be. That's the thing. They should be, but they're not. They're pretty much just, circus monkeys for Chris Jericho. And it's
Mhm.
unfortunate to see. But now getting back into Jericho and Starks, I think that this is going to be a good match. And I do think that Ricky Starks is going to beat Jericho. And then, that's where Paul White's going to come in and attack Ricky. And I think Paul White and Jericho are going to be probably going to be in the tag division moving forward, because they are lacking tag teams now, which is very weird, because at one point their tag team division was so stacked.
I mean, Jericho and Paul White, man, they have a lot of history together. You know, they came to WWE around the same time. I think Paul White came a couple years before. They were both in WCW. You know,
Yeah.
so they have a long standing history with together.
They were
And if
former
I
tag champs in WWE too.
And if I remember correctly, you know, a lot of their segments were really entertaining. Like, you know, that was obviously a couple years ago, and I don't have that much memory of Jerry Show when they were like big in WWE, but I do remember like how could you have a guy like Jericho and a guy like Big Show and not have any kind of entertainment? So I definitely like I could see them being, you know, maybe they could go against a firm and imagine Paul White against Big Bill.
That's the thing about like Jericho that I do see happening. They will be in the tag division, because I don't see Paul White being a singles competitor in this, time of his career. He just came off, multiple surgeries. And what better way to have him, wrestle than with somebody he's already worked with in the past? They already have that chemistry. And right now they are lacking some, tag teams. So Jericho would be a great fit in the tag division.
Absolutely, man. I'm
But we're
looking
gonna
forward
have
to
to wait
seeing
and
what
see what
happens.
happens. I
Um,
think it
I
will
do
be Ricky
think,
Starks that wins.
yeah, I do. You know, Jericho's at this stage of his career. Like, you know, he's had titles, he's had main events, he's had WrestleManias, he's had all this success. You know, I mean, how many guys can say they beat Rock and Austin the same night for double championship? Like Jericho, you name it, Jericho's done it in this fucking business. You know, he's at that point in his career to where you know he wants to improve the wrestling business. He wants to use his popularity and make stars out of it. You know, we saw it happen with Action Andretti. You know, even though they started to push him and then they started to yank him back a little bit for whatever fucking reason.
I knew that was
You
gonna
know,
happen.
he did good in the ladder match on Wednesday or whatever. But I do feel like Jericho is gonna make Ricky Starks into a fucking star.
Can I just say, I'm upset that they did the ladder match on Dynamite. I wish it was at Revolution.
Yeah, I mean,
It's been a tradition every year for Revolution.
if it was up to me, bro, I would have taken off the tag team title match and replaced it with the ladder match because the tag team match, which we're gonna be getting into in a little bit, is
Yeah,
I have some comments. I have some comments.
me too. I can't wait to get into that, but we have a couple more matches to get into before we get into that. So, moving on now to our next match on the card. We have a singles match for the AEW TNT Championship. Samoa Joe defending the title against Wardlow.
This is where it's gonna be getting a little bit confusing and a little bit flustered for a lot of people. Obviously we saw, Powerhouse Hobbs, who hasn't really been showcased on TV regularly. Like he had a bunch of those cool like vignettes like about his childhood and growing up in the projects or whatever. I thought they were gonna like utilize that and yeah, sort of like push him and elevate him, but they did those vignettes for like 3 weeks and then they just fucking stopped. He's been on Dark and Dark Elevation and hasn't really been showcased on TV. But he won the Revolution ladder match
Good booking
on
decision.
Wednesday. But here's where it gets a little bit tricky. So obviously we're going to be having Samoa Joe defending against Wardlow. With the storyline going on with Wardlow, this is sort of like a redemption arc. Samoa Joe insulted Wardlow by cutting his hair, and that symbolizes like the bond that he had with his father before he passed away, and it just reminded him of his dad and stuff like that. You heard the backstage promo or whatever that Wardlow cut a couple weeks ago with JR.
Mhm.
So you have that going on. To me, it seems like Wardlow's going to beat Samoa Joe, and Samoa Joe is just going to end up being a mainstay on Ring of Honor. But
Yeah.
if that happens, Wardlow will be a transitional champion because with Powerhouse Hobbs winning the ladder match on Wednesday, I feel like Powerhouse Hobbs is going to win the TNT title on Wednesday at Dynamite. So you see where I'm going with this?
I
It's a
do.
very tricky situation, bro. I don't know what the fuck they're thinking.
I know what they're thinking. It's what they've been doing with the TNT title since Sammy Guevara had it. They want to play hot potato with it. They're going to keep, playing hot potato. They're going to pass it along pretty much, going to pretty much everybody. I could
But
definitely see Wardlow winning the title, then Powerhouse Hobbs winning the title, and then it's going to go back to Wardlow, and then somehow it's going to be another heel, and then Jungle Boy is going to win it, and then the next guy is going to win it, all within this.
we've also seen Wardlow feud with Powerhouse Hobbs and vice versa. Like these three a couple months ago, back in I think December, November, they were all in a feud together. Remember that?
That's why I liked Powerhouse Hobbs winning this, because it brought me back to that, because they had the history, so it made sense why the security came out and pretty much separated all three of them
The
immediately.
only
That was great.
the only way I could see this working and have all three guys come out looking strong, I could see Powerhouse Hobbs getting involved, screwing Wardlow out of the title, having Samoa Joe retain, and then on Wednesday he drops the title of the Powerhouse Hobbs. That way, with this whole storyline going on with Wardlow and the sentimental thing with his dad or whatever before his dad passed away, it Wardlow loses, but he lost at no fault of his own. He got screwed out of the title. So in a way, he lost without losing, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. So both men are going to sabotage each other, and then that's going to lead to a feud with Wardlow and Powerhouse Hobbs.
And I could see Samoa Joe retaining, Powerhouse Hobbs helping Samoa Joe retain the title. That way Wardlow loses without, looking weak and, he loved his father so much he lost his match against Samoa Joe. So I could see Powerhouse Hobbs helping Samoa Joe by, attacking Wardlow or hitting Wardlow like with an equalizer or whatever, knocking him out, having Samoa Joe beat Wardlow for the TNT title. And then I could see Powerhouse Hobbs beating Samoa Joe on Wednesday for the TNT title. Because you want Wardlow to, with this whole storyline going on, you want him to look strong. You don't want him to look weak, especially when, he was getting very choked up. And this whole storyline revolves around his dad in a way, who passed away from cancer, might I add.
Yeah.
So it's very heartfelt, very emotional situation that he's going through. So if you want him to lose, you can't have him lose clean.
Yeah,
And
but that's what pretty much what I was saying was, I think, I agree with you. Powerhouse Hobbs, I think that's a great, way to have him screw Wardlow, have Joe keep the title. But then on Wednesday, when Samoa Joe fights Powerhouse Hobbs, Wardlow could be so pissed off that Powerhouse Hobbs screwed him because of how much, value, this had for him. He goes out and instead of thinking about the title, he screws Powerhouse Hobbs. That's going to lead into, a solid build for, a couple weeks to like a month.
I could see
And
something
that's
like
going to
that
help
happening.
both men think about it too. It's going to help both men because they haven't really been on TV much and they're
Mhm.
both powerhouses. So you're going to have fans that are really going to want to tune into this. And this could be, a solid, rivalry.
I just hope TK doesn't fuck it up.
I hope he doesn't fuck it up either. I have Samoa Joe retaining the championship.
I do too, with the reasoning that I just gave you behind it.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on now to the next match we have on the card, a Texas death match, Jon Moxley versus Hangman Adam Page.
Bro, this match is going to be brutality at its finest, man. I've been saying that during my watch-alongs, and I'm going to continue to say it until the heavens hear me. This match is going to be fucking brutal. There's going to be so much bloodshed. There's so much carnage. And I'm going to love every second of it, bro.
Oh,
These
it's
dudes
gonna
are
be
going to
fun.
brutalize the hell out of each other. It's going to be great.
Here's what I think, man. I'm gonna keep this one short and sweet with this match. To be honest with you, I really don't know who's gonna win this match. Because
I
both
know.
guys, they've had, they both lost their matches, and the storyline has been okay. I just wish that they did have less matches
They did the
before this
concussion angle for both of them.
for both of them, which I liked. And I liked how they got, Evil Uno involved, and then Mox, beat the shit out of him. And we kind of got like a very serious side of Hangman that we haven't seen in a while. And this match, I'm very excited to see what happens. I really don't know who's going to win. It's definitely a 50-50 shot. And the one that I am going to, put my money on at the table, hesitant to do that, but I gotta go with Hangman Adam Page on
Well,
this
you
one.
know what?
Mox is gonna take his break.
I don't know, man. Like I mean, he could have taken his break, a couple months ago, and he just chose not to, man. And obviously, he's not going to go on vacation and have Renee be at work. That means if he goes on vacation, that means Renee is going to be going on vacation. She just got with the company. I don't see that happening anytime soon. You're going with Paige, man. Yeah, like, a 50-50 shot. I gotta go with Moxley, man.
All I
This
know
is
is
go
I'm excited for this
this
match.
is what I love about pro wrestling. The aspect of having it not be predictable. You don't know what the hell is gonna happen. We haven't had a scenario like this in years. You know what
And
I mean?
exactly what you just said right there, I'm gonna add something to that. This is something that wrestling today is missing badly, and something Tony Khan needs to get credit for, because both of these guys, especially in their final promos before this match during Dynamite, I feel like we're going to have no winner in this. This is going to be like a no contest because Jon Moxley can win this match. Hangman can win this match. There's really no way of knowing, okay, this person's guaranteed to win.
And they had two different
I
promos,
love
bro.
it. Love
Moxley
it.
had the promo in the stairwell, like he had blood dripping down or whatever.
From last week.
He was saying Adam Page was a good man, and but he's not the kind of monster that I am. And then you had Adam Page like outside. It looked like at like some kind of skate park or something, like outside, cutting a promo, and like the two opposite angles. You know what I mean? Like you have Moxley over here bleeding after going through a war, and then you have Hangman Adam Page, just like talking and trying to get into Moxley's head a little bit, bro. Like usually I can pinpoint like what direction each storyline or each match is gonna possibly go through, just because I watch the shows every week, just like you. But I have no idea, bro. Like I'm stumped. You're going with Page. I feel like it's only right that I go with Moxley. That way, at least one of us is gonna win regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. All I know is this is a rivalry that a lot of AEW fans right now might not appreciate, but years from now, they're going to look back at this feud and say, damn, that was good.
Do you think everybody appreciated the fucking Rocks and Hogans and Triple H back in the day when
Nope.
when it was first happening? They didn't know what the fuck was happening, and then fucking now, all these years later, everybody raves about the Attitude Era. Same scenario is gonna happen here, bro. People want to complain and bitch about it, and then 10, 20 years from now, people will be like, "Oh my god, bro, that match between Page and Moxley, the Texas Death Match, fucking insane." Like
So
that's what's gonna
unpredictable,
happen.
too, which is
So
what makes it exciting as a maniac to watch this match and
yep.
to buy this pay per view.
So I'm going with Moxie. You're going with Hangman. It's going to be a great show, man. On to the
Sounds
next
good.
match.
On to the next match. We have a four-way tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. The Guns will be defending their titles against the Acclaimed, Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett versus Orange Cassidy and Danhausen.
This I like majority of the people in this match, so I don't want to come off as like a hater or come off as like, an asshole. But the Acclaim should have never lost, bro. And like you have Jeff Jarrett and Lethal in this match. Danhausen and Orange Cassidy in this match. But you had Lucha Brothers and Butcher and Blade lose, who could have been would have looked even better in this match
Butcher
because
and
they're
Blade
legitimate
deserve,
threats.
to be honest with you, like Butcher and Blade deserve to have an opportunity. They've been with AEW since day one, and I don't even think they've had a pay-per-view match at all.
Bro, I don't understand how you have Danhausen and Orange Cassidy or Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal in this match, but you have guys on your roster like the Lucha Brothers. That'd be a phenomenal match. And Butcher and Blade. Imagine Butcher and Blade, Lucha Brothers, the Acclaimed, the Guns. Bro, that's a fucking hell of a match right
Dude,
there.
the Butcher and the Blade, if there was a tag match to squeeze them in to, this would have been the perfect opportunity for that. Here's my thoughts on, the tag teams in this match. I'm a fan of the Guns. I'm a fan of the Acclaimed. I love Jay and Jeff, their singles work. And Orange Cassidy and Danhausen, I see the potential there as a funny, successful tag team. But when it comes down to it, the reason why I'm not invested into this, because the Guns versus the Acclaim shouldn't have happened on Dynamite. It should have happened at Revolution. And we had Billy turn on the Acclaimed to help his sons win the titles. They should have waited for a better time to give the Guns the titles. They just randomly gave it to them, and it doesn't feel natural. They didn't get that big pop off, so nobody's really invested or care about them like they did before they won the
Yeah.
titles.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
They should have just had the Guns versus the Acclaimed at Revolution. It would have been a lot better than this.
I want to say the Acclaimed are going to retain, but if they were going to retain, I mean, it would have made no sense like to have this match happen in the first place, or at least have the Guns beat them on AEW. 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, however long it's been. So I don't know, man. I like Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. They're not winning. Danhausen and Orange Cassidy. They're not fucking winning. So it's either between the Guns or the Acclaimed, and I gotta say the Guns are gonna retain because they obviously gave them the tag titles for a fucking reason. I don't know what that reason is. Maybe we do get Billy Gunn, helping his boys out. I don't know.
You see here, like they would have just had a bigger payoff if the Guns won the titles at Revolution rather than Dynamite. I think that the Guns will retain their titles somehow, some way in this tag match. And I think that after this, the Guns will, have a feud with, a babyface team. And I think Double or Nothing is where the Guns will lose the titles. And I could see like a team like Top Flight maybe winning the titles if they can, avoid injuries.
They're so talented, man, but they need to
The
do a little
Guns are
work in
solid
the
heels.
they need to do a little
Top
work in the
Flight are
gym,
solid
and
faces. It only makes sense
yeah.
eventually, but who knows?
So
Guns, I think, will retain. I just wish that it was the Acclaim versus Guns here rather than Dynamite a few
now,
weeks back.
would you have Billy Gunn help them tonight, or do you think would you hold off on that?
Hold off on that. They had the opportunity to make a bigger payoff out of it, and they fucking blew it.
Yeah. So now everybody's gonna expect that it's gonna happen, and the best
Yep.
thing to do is to, expect the least expected. So
Orange Cassidy and Danhausen, I do got to say, the chemistry that those two have, I really want to see what they can do as a tag team moving forward, which is why I want Orange Cassidy to drop the All Atlantic title and continue to work with Danhausen and maybe best friends Chuck and Trent, they can turn heel, and there you go. You can have a solid rivalry right there. Because if you notice in the interviews and stuff, Chuck and Trent seem like they're getting jealous of Orange Cassidy and Danhausen. I feel
Yeah.
like we're gonna get a
I'm
heel
just
turn anytime now.
I'm not invested into anything that they're doing, bro. Like, I like seeing Danhausen, he's funny. I like
Only
Orange
makes sense
Cassidy's
why they would turn Chuck and Trent heel
I
because
like Orange
their run has been stale now.
Yeah, but, I'm not emotionally invested in them now, so if they turned heel and feuded with Orange Cassidy and Danhausen, guess what? I don't really give a shit because, I can hardly tell them apart. That's how much I don't care about them. And that's
All
not me being
right.
an asshole, it's just the way the booking is.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. But I do want to see Danhausen and Orange Cassidy continue their tag team. I
I
think
do
that they
too,
can
but they
really
don't
get
need the
over.
titles. They don't
They
need the
don't need
tag
the
titles.
titles. No, they don't need the titles at all. But let's keep them together as a tag team and see what they could do because the last, few weeks, their segments have actually been pretty good.
Here's what I want to happen. I want I want Danhausen and Orange Cassidy to get the pin on Jay Lethal and is it elimination match or is it
No,
not oh,
not
not elimination.
elimination.
So my idea just went out the window. I was gonna have it to build them up even more. I was gonna have Danhausen and Orange Cassidy, eliminate Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett and have the Guns and Danhausen and Orange Cassidy, you know, have them, fight it out to see who's going to be the next tag team titles, and that would have been a way for you to elevate Danhausen and Orange Cassidy.
Oh, and then you could have had Chuck and Trent screw Orange Cassidy and Danhausen right there.
See, all like we're just doing a prediction video and all the fucking scenarios that are running through our head. How can TK not do this? I mean, it's common sense.
It's very common sense. But now, with that being said, let's move on to the main event for AEW Revolution, a 60-man Iron Man match for the AEW World Championship, MJF versus Bryan Danielson.
Bro, this match is going to be 16 stars, bro. This match, I can't wait to read Dave Meltzer's report on the Wrestling
I
Observer.
can't wait for this match because here's something that I have been saying for the longest time. And there are actually some wrestling legends out there that have said this as well. Everybody wants to say MJF is one of the best heels in the business. MJF is one of the best on the mic with his promo skills. But one thing that people seem to not give MJF credit for is being one of the best pro wrestlers in the ring. And I think this match right here against Bryan Danielson, 60 minutes, all the comparisons to MJF being an EC3 or MJF being a Miz is all going to go right out the window because MJF is going to prove to all those people that were saying he's a Miz ripoff
Mhm.
that not only is he one of the best on the mic, not only is he one of the best heels in the business, one of the best characters, he is one of the best wrestlers in that ring, and that is why he is the Triple B's. He is the AEW World Heavyweight Champion.
Bro, this match is
I
gonna
can't
be a
wait until this because everybody wants to say Kenny Omega's the best pro wrestler in the world.
you
Will
know what
Ospreay's the best wrestler in the world. Roman Reigns is the best wrestler in the world. And MJF's name is not in that conversation, and it's going to start being in that conversation once this happens. I'm
well
speaking into existence.
in reality, I mean, you really can't blame anybody for that because I
I
mean,
don't.
like
I don't
we've
blame him.
seen we've seen MJF have, banger after banger after banger, whatever. But I don't feel like we've had him to this magnitude yet. I mean, 1 hour with Danielson, bro. That's like, major. Not everybody can do it. Very, very few people would be able to, do that. And like, if you go on like MJF's like Instagram and like his social media accounts or whatever, like the dude, he's been busting his ass in the gym, making sure that he's ring ready, bro. He's got a 16 pack now. He's all shredded and cut. Like, you can definitely tell he's taking this serious. And the only thing that'll make this match better is if JR is on commentary for it.
Needs to have JR. I agree.
Like, nobody can sell a wrestling match on commentary more than fucking Jim Ross can, bro. Like he's called all the greatest matches in this entire fucking business. He needs to be on commentary for this match.
I'm telling you this right now, man. I've seen MJF grow into this megastar that he's become. I got the opportunity to watch this man in the beginning of his career, wrestling for independent promotions in my area like Northeast Wrestling and Blitzkrieg Pro a lot.
Mhm.
And I'm telling you this right now. And even being an day one AEW fan, I've seen MJF's work with guys like Cody Rhodes, Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, Jungle Boy, CM Punk, and,
Oh,
even
the
John
dog collar
Moxley.
match, the dog collar match, bro, with CM Punk. I mean, people still talk about that.
But
That
here's
shit
the
was
thing.
brutal.
MJF still doesn't get the credit where it's due. And I think that this type of match, Bryan Danielson wanted it to be an Iron Man match because he knows the talent MJF has. And with 60 minutes, MJF is going to show people that not only is he one of the best on the mic or, one of the best heels, he's one of the best in the world at doing this. He has the
Absolutely.
talent to do it. And I've studied MJF's career through a microscope since he started back in 2015. And I'm telling you this, he can work any style wrestling match. We've seen it. If you go back into the AEW vault, watch the match with Jungle Boy. They did a lot of new school wrestling matches. Darby Allin, they did a lot of, high spots and stuff, and MJF was able to work around that. CM Punk, he was able to do the dog collar match, which is, a special occasion match, and he made it special.
Mhm.
John Moxley put on a great storytelling there. All the storylines are great storytelling. But now getting into Bryan Danielson, 1 hour against one of the best technical wrestlers in the world, MJF is going to prove that he's one of the top pro wrestlers out there. Watch.
Like
I cannot wait.
it's definitely gonna happen, bro. And I this is what Revolution is surrounded upon. Like this is definitely this should be the only match on the marquee for this pay per view. If I'm
Yes.
y- this no other match on this show I feel like has this much at stake for it. Like this is a huge deal, bro. It's gonna solidify Danielson. Both of these guys are gonna look fabulous. And I feel like how the ending is gonna be, I feel like these two are gonna brutalize the hell out of each other so much that neither one of them can continue. And therefore has MJF retain the title.
Here's what I think is going to happen with this match here. This Iron Man match in AEW. I'm not comparing the two Iron Man matches to each other. So I already know some people are going to mix that up when they hear this take. In AEW, this is going to feel like a Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels Iron Man match that they
Oh
had
yeah.
at WrestleMania. This is going to be AEW's version of that. And I cannot wait to see this because you have MJF, who's arrogant, like Shawn Michaels. You have Bryan Danielson, one of the best technician wrestlers in the game, Bret Hart. They're going to be going at it for 60 minutes. And here's what I think is going to happen. They are going to be at a draw. I think it's going to be either 1-1 or 2-2. And I think what's going to happen, Danielson's going to have MJF in the S lock for the last 2 minutes of the match. MJF is not going to tap. Therefore, it's going to be a draw, which means the champion retains the title. He barely escapes it, but that is a great way to, have Danielson look good and MJF look even better in the situation because, of course, a lot of people, always think that he finds a way out. Not only is he going to get to show what he could do in the ring, but he's also going to be MJF at the same time, which is going to be great.
It's gonna be awesome, man. Like this match is gonna my entire weekend surrounded around this match, man. Like I could have only this match on the pay-per-view and I feel like it's worth $50. Like
Exactly why I'm
this
spending $50.
this this match is gonna be fantastic. And like you said, MJF is finally gonna be able to showcase what he can do. We both I think we're both on the same page. MJF is gonna win barely, but we know that's going to be the deciding factor. MJF is finally going to showcase and shut a lot of people up, showcase what he can do. Because like a lot of people know he's a good wrestler, but I don't think like you said, and like I can't
I'm
even.
talking GOAT status.
I'm not even speaking for myself. I've seen MJF have hellacious matches, but nothing to the extent of 1 hours with somebody like Danielson. This is really going to solidify him as being one of the best pro wrestlers on the planet, bro.
And I can't wait for this because I already see all of this happening. I cannot wait to see the wrestling community. I cannot wait to see the wrestling community and even the We Are Wrestling Maniacs that said, I'm crazy for what I'm saying here, to say, Donnie, this whole time, you were right.
It's going to happen, man.
And MJF, you better not disappoint me here because I have been praising you since day one. And right here, a 60-man Iron Man match against one of the best technician wrestlers in the game. This is where you finally get to prove my point once and for all. And I can finally close, that coffin.
Exactly. And we know you're a We Are Wrestling Maniac, man. You've said it on film. Can't go back now. So make us proud, man. It's going to be a great match, bro.
And if MJF doesn't show up in this match, then I guess what he says in the We Are Wrestling podcast introduction, saying that I have the worst takes. Well, I guess I have the worst takes if MJF doesn't show up at Revolution. So, yeah, he has two choices. Either, say what you said to me at the meet and greet, that I have, the worst friggin' takes on the We Are Wrestling.
Of all the horrible marks that talk about wrestling, you are by far the least intelligent.
Or prove that I have the best takes.
So I'm
really relying on you, Maxwell, to help me here. We're best friends.
Yeah. It's gonna be great stuff, man.
Anything else before we close off this predictions?
Nah, man. Got to get ready for stream tonight. Got to go out and do some stuff. So I think we've wrapped that up here, man. I hope you guys tune in for our watch along on Sunday. It's going to be a great time.
It's going to be a great time. But let us know in the comment section below your predictions for AEW Revolution. Like Danny said, me and him are going to be doing a dual watch along on the We Are Wrestling channel and the Danny H Vlogs channel on Sunday. If you guys want to come watch it with us, we'll be watching it Sunday live here on the channel. If you guys enjoyed this predictions video, make sure to smash that like button now. If you're not a We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already, subscribe, turn on the post notifications. The link's down in the description below. You can go follow Danny and I on our social medias and other YouTube pages. In addition, if you want shorter clips to the podcast, we are posting shorter clips over on our social media pages, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. All the links down below. And later on today.
Yeah, I was just about to say, later on today, man, new episode of the podcast comes out.
New episode of the We Are Wrestling podcast. And we have some really hot topics that Ben, Danny, and I are going to dive deep into. But of course, to all the We Are Wrestling Maniacs out there worldwide, we are taking over. Peace.